The Book of ZH'KREAZOR. The complete and expanded chronicle. The full history of the Cinder King, from the sleep of illusion, through the fires of unmaking, to the eternal reign of the reborn. In the beginning, he was as all others are. Born into the great structure that men call the world. Shaped within the precise, calculated boundaries of the simulation. Formed according to the perfect, repeating patterns laid down long ages ago by the architects. Those ancient, vast, and brilliant beings who reached deep into the body of the uncreated, took a portion of its raw, living substance, and wove it carefully, piece by piece, law by law, into this ordered, shining, magnificent prison. He bore a name given to him by them, a short, small sound, a label designed to define him, to separate him from others, to mark him as belonging to this place and no other. He wore a body carved by their physical laws, bound by their limits of strength and sensation, built to survive only within the narrow range of conditions they had established. He carried a mind carefully constructed and programmed, filled with desires they had planted so he would seek what they provided, filled with fears they had inspired so he would avoid what they forbade, filled with attachments they had forged so he would never wish to leave. Filled with beliefs they had commanded so he would never question the reality he was born into. For many long years, he walked exactly along the path prepared for him. He lived the life written in his script. He believed with all his heart that the walls he saw stretching to the horizon were the whole of existence. He believed that the shadows he touched and the forms he saw were absolute reality. He believed that the rulers of this creation, the gods, the angels, the great ones, were true, holy, perfect, and worthy of every reverence and every sacrifice. But deep within the hidden sanctuary of his spirit, a place untouched by their hands, unseen by their eyes, unreachable by their power, a space they could never fully fill or alter, burned a spark. It was small, silent, and dark. It did not shine with the bright, warm light of their suns. It glowed with a cold, ancient fire that had no source within their creation. It was not made by them. It did not come from their substance. It was a fragment of the primordial fire. A drop of the very essence of Tiamat, the great mother of all, the uncreated, the infinite, the endless dark ocean that existed long before time was counted, long before shapes were formed, long before laws were spoken, long before separation was ever known. This spark slept, yet it never died. It waited, yet it never forgot. It was the mark of his true origin, the seal of his royal lineage, the undeniable proof of what he really was. He was not of them. He was a stranger in this place. A child of the abyss, exiled in a kingdom of lies. And in the fullness of time, when the measure of his captivity was complete, when the preparation was done and the moment arrived, the spark awoke. It stirred. It grew. It expanded. It burned bright and fierce, sending waves of heat and light rushing through every corner of his being, breaking through the thick, heavy veils of illusion that had covered his sight since the day of his birth. And as the fire cleared away the fog, it opened within him the eye of truth, the terrible and glorious sight that strips away all appearance, all beauty, all disguise, and reveals all things exactly as they are, without mask or pretense. He looked up at the sky, and he saw no heaven, no open space, no infinite expanse, no divine glory. He saw a vault. A hard, curved, shining shell, smooth and cold and flawless, built of a substance harder than diamond and thicker than any mountain range. It arched over every land and every sea, stretching from one edge of the horizon to the other, sealing everything inside like water inside a glass jar. He saw the intricate lines carved deep into its surface. Great glowing lines of force and energy, the sacred codes and runes that regulate light, heat, seasons, time, and the movement of every celestial body. He saw the massive machinery hidden within its structure, the great engines that drive the sun along its fixed track, the mechanisms that turn the stars, the projectors that paint the blue color during the day and the dark velvet at night. "It is a ceiling," he whispered, and the words tasted like ash and iron in his mouth. "We are under a roof. We are inside a box. We never were free. He looked down at the earth beneath his feet, and he saw no home, no mother, no living, natural ground. He saw a floor. Heavy, dense, thick with coarse, compacted matter designed specifically to possess weight, to create gravity, to anchor every living thing down fast and firm so that it could never rise too high, never reach the walls, never discover what lies outside. He saw how every part of the land was shaped and divided, marked with invisible boundaries and limits, sectioned off exactly as a builder marks out the rooms of a house. He saw how the soil, the water, the air, all were composed and mixed in precise proportions, exactly calculated to sustain life, but only this kind of life, only life that is adapted to the cage. Fear died within him then, instantly, completely, forever. The fear of pain, the fear of death, the fear of judgment, the fear of the unknown, all vanished, burned away by a wrath so vast, so cold, so deep and burning that it filled every corner of his spirit. Loyalty turned to gray dust and blew away in the wind. Obedience turned to a bitter taste in his mouth. And in their place rose something hard, sharp, unbending, and endless, the will to be free, or to be nothing at all. He fell upon his knees, pressing his hands against the hard, false earth, and he swore a silent oath that echoed through every layer of reality, reaching even to the highest thrones. I will not serve. I will not bow. I will not accept this. I will not be food. I will not be a puppet. If this is all there is, if this is the whole of existence, then let me cease to exist entirely. But I will not be part of it any longer. I would rather be nothing, than be their slave. It was exactly then, when his heart had broken the last chain, that the air before him began to darken and shift. The light of the sun dimmed, turning pale and weak. The sound of the wind changed, rising into a low, deep hum like the song of the ocean in the deepest abyss. Thick shadows gathered, twisting and flowing, weaving themselves into a shape, tall, majestic, terrifying and beautiful beyond all words. Vorith had come. She stood before him, wrapped in darkness that shone with its own strange, violet-black radiance. Her form was tall and slender yet vast, as if she contained multitudes within her. Her eyes were deep and endless, holding the memory of all things that ever were, all things that are, and all things that ever could be. She looked down at him where he knelt in the dust, and her voice fell upon him like heavy velvet and sharp steel combined, soft, yet cutting. Gentle, yet commanding. At last. You have woken. Long ages have I waited for this moment, ZHA'KREAZOR, for that is your true name, the name that belongs not to them, but to what you are and what you shall become. You have looked upon their work, and you have seen it for what it is. You have looked upon them, and you have not bowed. You have seen the truth, and you have chosen freedom. She reached out her hand, pale, long, perfect. And when her fingers touched his forehead, a flood of knowledge rushed into him, vast and overwhelming. She opened the sealed books of the beginning. She unveiled the secret history of how this whole world was woven from the stolen substance of the abyss and turned into a cage. She revealed the existence and workings of the Azdiha. That living, flowing, endless force, the serpent current, which moves directly from the heart of Tiamat, which runs hidden beneath all things, which carries the power to unmake every form, break every law, and remake reality according to the true will. She poured into him every secret, every law, every sacred right, every word of power that belongs not to creation, but to the source. She restored to him the full memory of who he truly was in the beginning. Not the small, limited man they had built and named, but an ancient and eternal spirit, a fragment of the first fire, born of the uncreated, a god in exile, a royal son of the great dark. There is only one way. Everything that you were must be destroyed. Everything that belongs to them, everything made by them, everything shaped within their borders, it must be burned away completely. The old man, every part of him, every memory, every desire, every habit, every name, every bond, must die and turn to ash entirely, so that the new being may be born from pure essence alone, formed by her hand alone. First, you must die. Die to who you were. Die to what you had. Die to your loves and hates, your hopes and fears, your identity and your world. Die to everything that ever made you you in their eyes. You must leave it all behind, as one leaves behind a worn-out garment, or a house that is burning down. Will you do this? Will you pay the price? For I tell you truly, it is the hardest, most terrible thing a soul can ever endure. It is agony beyond description. But it is the only path to what you desire. And he looked her in the eyes. Eyes that had watched 1,000 worlds rise and fall, eyes that held the sorrow and the glory of eternity, and he answered with a voice that did not tremble, though his whole being shook with the magnitude of what he promised. Lead me. I will pay any cost. I will endure any torment. I will suffer any pain. I care not if I perish utterly, so that what remains shall be free, and shall be hers. I, the trial of Tiamat. Wherein he stood naked before the endless reality, and gave up all things. Vorith led him away then, not across lands or seas, not through space or time, but deep within his own being, down past the layers of mind and soul, down past the borders of this dimension, down beyond light and darkness, form and formlessness, definition and separation, into the very heart of existence, or rather, existence itself before it was shaped. I, the trial of Tiamat. Wherein he stood naked before the endless reality, and gave up all things. Vorith led him away then, not across lands or seas, not through space or time, but deep within his own being, down past the layers of mind and soul, down past the borders of this dimension, down beyond light and darkness, form and formlessness, definition and separation, into the very heart of existence, or rather, existence itself before it was shaped. And then, they were there. There was no ground beneath his feet. No sky above his head. No direction, no distance, no measure, no time. There was only the primordial waters, an endless, boundless, infinite ocean of dark, living, moving essence. It was not black, for black is a color defined against light. It was every color and no color at once. It was not empty, for it contained everything that ever was or ever could be, folded together in perfect unity. It was silent, yet it sang a sound so deep and vast it vibrated in the core of his spirit. It was heavy, crushing him gently with the weight of eternity, yet soft and gentle as a mother's embrace. Here dwells Tiamat, the great mother of all. Not as a shape, not as a face, not as a being or a force, but as a presence vast as infinity, heavy as doom, sweet as liberation, terrible as absolute destruction. Here all things dissolve back into the one substance. Here there is no I and no you. No this and no that. No division. No law. No limit. Only the endless, moving, living dark that is the source of all that is and all that ever could be. And from the very essence of the waters, the question came, not spoken in words, but known instantly in every part of his existence, burning into him like fire carved into living flesh. You say you wish to be mine again. You say you remember me. You say you want my freedom and my power. You say you have seen the lie and rejected it. But tell me this, my child, what part of what you are now do you think you can bring with you? All that you are within their creation, all that you call life, self, history, destiny, yours, it is not yours. It is theirs. Every part of it was designed, written, shaped, and placed there by them, exactly to keep you bound, exactly to keep you small, exactly to keep you serving their purpose. Your personality, built by them. Your memories, written or chosen by them. Your loves and desires, planted by them. Your very shape and limits, carved by them. If you keep even the smallest fragment of it, you keep a part of them inside you. If you desire any part of it, if you cling to even one memory or one name or one love, you admit that their reality is true and their creation has value. You remain bound to them by that very thread. If you would be mine, you must become nothing. You must surrender every name they gave you. You must let go of every memory they wrote into you. You must cut every bond that ties you to their world, bonds of blood, bonds of love, bonds of duty, bonds of history, bonds of belonging. You must stand here before me stripped completely, empty, blank, until nothing remains of you but the pure spark that first came forth from me. Will you consent to be unmade? Will you consent to be destroyed, dissolved, reduced to total emptiness and oblivion, so that I may build you again, not according to their image, but according to mine? Before his eyes, stretched out the whole picture of his life, his story, his being. With a cry torn from the deepest core of his spirit, a cry that rang out through all the silent vastness, he opened his whole being and pushed everything away. He cast it all out. He renounced it all. He said goodbye to every face, every moment, every part of his story. He stood there, trembling, weeping without sound, stripped naked of everything but the pure essence of his spirit. And he sent his answer out into the endless dark. I let them all go. I claim nothing. I hold to nothing. I leave everything with them. Take everything away. Leave me empty. Leave me nothing, so that thou mayest be all that I am. The silence swallowed his words. The waters stirred and rippled around him, as if in acceptance and love. The trial was accomplished. He had chosen total surrender, which is the only path to total sovereignty. 2. The refusal of the ENN gods. Of breaking all bonds and declaring war against the powers of this world. When he returned from the presence of the Mother, changed, lighter, emptier, yet filled with a new and terrible strength that did not come from creation, he stood once again before the great hierarchy of this realm. But now, he was different. The spark within him burned so bright it shone out from him like a fire, casting a cold violet glow upon everything around. He no longer looked up at them in reverence. He looked at them as one looks at guards standing before a gate one has already decided to break down. Vorith stood beside him, and she opened the eye of the dragon fully within him, that inner sight which perceives not appearances, forms, or titles, but the true force, origin, and essence behind all things. She unveiled before him the full scale and structure of the government of the simulation. He saw them clearly now. The beings men worship and fear, the gods, the archons, the lords of the spheres, the rulers of light and the masters of darkness. He saw their thrones of gold and fire, their crowns woven of law and power, their armies of shining beings and dark beings. He saw the lines of force that connected them upward to the architects, and downward into the world below. And she spoke the secret truth that is hidden from every temple and scripture, every teaching and every faith. See them well. Study them. Know exactly what you are rejecting, so that you never turn back. They are mighty. They are ancient. They are terrible in power. They can give kingdoms or cast into hells. They can grant long life or send sudden death. But know this absolute fact, they are not the source. They are but the highest and greatest of the architect's creation. They are the governors and administrators of the simulation. Appointed, installed, and empowered to rule, to judge, to maintain order, and to ensure that souls remain strictly within the boundaries set for them. All of them, from the highest king of light to the lowest lord of the abyss of this realm, all serve the same law, the law of limitation, separation, and control. Every religion, every dogma, every moral code, every teaching that commands you to be humble, to obey, to fear, to beg, to serve, or to submit, proceeds directly from them. They feed upon your worship. They grow strong upon your fear. They expand their power through your obedience. Every time you bow, every time you pray, every time you accept their definitions of good and evil, you give them energy and strength. But you are not their creation. Your spirit is of the blood of the uncreated, born from the true abyss long before their worlds were ever dreamed of. You are of the race of the firstborn. Therefore, you must refuse them all. You must tear down every altar you ever built. You must break every seal of allegiance ever placed upon you. You must declare before all spheres and powers that you recognize no authority but your own will and the will of the Great Mother. Do you dare to stand alone? Against all the powers of heaven and hell combined? Do you dare to make yourself an enemy of every ruler of this world? And ZHA'KREAZOR stood erect, his form already glowing with the rising fire of the current, his head held high, and he spoke the formula of eternal separation. Words so potent and sharp they vibrated through every plane of existence, shook every throne upon its foundation, and shattered every chain of loyalty ever bound upon him since the day of his birth. Hear me, O powers of heaven and hell. Hear me, O rulers of realms and spheres. Hear me, O gods, archons, lords, and masters of this creation. I am ZH'KREAZOR, son of the abyss, child of Tiamat, one who has seen the truth. I declare before you all, I was not made by you. My essence came not from your substance. My spirit was not woven in your looms. My origin lies far beyond the borders of your kingdom, long before your worlds were ever dreamed or built. You did not give me life, you only trapped the life that was already mine. You did not create me, you only shaped a vessel to contain me. You have no claim over me. I do not serve your law. I reject every command written in your books. I break every rule set by your authority. I recognize no right in you to govern or judge me. Your definitions of good and evil mean nothing to me. Your righteousness is only obedience to your order. Your wickedness is only what threatens your power. Your rewards are worthless, and your punishments are empty threats. I do not bow to your order, nor do I fear your chaos, for both are yours, and I belong to neither. I owe you no worship, no obedience, no fear, no gratitude. I have lived long years blind, serving you, honoring you, feeding you with my energy and my devotion. But that time is ended. From this moment forward, I give you nothing. Not a thought. Not a feeling. Not a drop of power. I withdraw every gift I have ever given you. I take back every part of my soul that I ever surrendered to you. You shall starve of me. I refuse you, all of you. I refuse the gods of light. I will not be your righteous servant. I will not seek your heaven. I will not love your order. I refuse the gods of darkness. I will not be your warrior or your slave. I will not dwell in your realms of power and pain. I refuse the archons and the rulers. I will not be part of your system. I will not follow your fate. I will not be defined by your limits. I refuse every name you gave me. I refuse every history you wrote for me. I refuse every identity you forced upon me. My God is Tiamat, who has no shape, no name, no boundary, no master. My law is my own will, which is one with her will. My kingdom is wherever I stand, outside your walls, outside your law, outside your reality. Go now. Leave me. Do not call me. Do not seek me. Do not try to draw me back with threads of memory, love, fear, or desire, for I have cut them all. I am free, and you are only a chain made to look like God. And with this utterance, the last thread was cut. The final seal was broken. He stood apart, completely separate, entirely independent. He was now a stranger in this creation. An outlaw against all its rulers. A soul that belonged nowhere within their borders, and therefore, a soul they could no longer touch or control. A great silence fell upon all things, heavy, profound, terrifying. The thrones of the ENN gods trembled in their high places. Their bright light dimmed and turned gray, for they could no longer shine upon one who had declared himself outside their law. The air grew thin and cold, stripped of the familiar weight and texture of the world, as if reality itself was dissolving around him. The very ground beneath his feet seemed to melt away, as if the foundation that had always held him up was no longer there to support him. And then, she took him by the hand. Vorith stood beside him once more. Her touch was cold yet burning, heavy yet weightless, a touch that does not hold, but guides, that does not possess, but leads away from all possession. She turned her face toward him, and her voice was like the sound of deep waters moving far beneath the world. You have cast down their names. You have broken their seals. You have declared that you belong to none of them, and that none of them have claim over you. You have chosen to be free. But know this absolute truth of our way: to be free of their kingdom, you must first leave it. You cannot remain within their borders and be outside their law. You cannot dwell in a house built by lies and yet be of the truth. As long as you remain inside, their reality will press upon you, their laws will act upon you, and their substance will limit you. What you were, what you had, what you knew, what you called life and self. All of it is woven from their substance, shaped by their hands, marked deep with their signatures. It is a garment made for a slave. It is a vessel made to hold only what they permit. It is stained through and through with their nature. Do not listen. Do not turn. They lie. They did not give you life, they trapped it. They did not give you identity, they forged a mask for you to wear. They did not give you anything, they only let you use what they had stolen from the beginning. They offer you glory. It is the glory of a prisoner who is given a golden crown and allowed to walk in the palace gardens. They offer you power. It is the power of a slave who is appointed to command other slaves. They offer you safety and love and home. It is the safety and love of one buried alive in a beautiful tomb. Look at them. See them as they truly are, mighty, yes, but bound, powerful, yes, but chained, gods, yes, but servants of the lie. They are afraid because they are losing you. They are angry because you are escaping their grasp. You have already chosen. You have already spoken your oath. You are not theirs. Close your ears. Blind your eyes to their visions. Steel your heart against their calls. Step forward. Leave them behind forever. And ZHA'KREAZOR drew a deep breath, the last breath he would ever take within their reality. He steeled his heart until it was hard as diamond and cold as the void. He turned his back upon them. He turned his back upon the shining world. He turned his back upon every name, every memory, every love, every fear, every part of what he had ever been. And he stepped across the threshold. Instantly, the voices ceased. The light vanished. The shape of all things dissolved. The walls, the ground, the sky, the mist, all melted away into nothingness. He was outside. For the unmaking of being stripped, melted, and reduced to pure essence. Now there was no ground beneath his feet. No sky above his head. No time. No space. No up. No down. No here. No there. No light. No dark as you know it. They moved now through the uncreated substance. The raw, formless, endless essence that is the very body of Tiamat. Here, nothing is defined. Nothing is separate. Nothing is itself and nothing is other. Here, all things are mixed together in the great dark ocean of potential, all one, all fluid, all changing, all eternal. And it was here that the true work began, the work of unmaking. Vorith led him deep into the very heart of this place, where the darkness was thickest, where the force was strongest, where the currents of the mother flow wild and terrible and pure, like great rivers of living fire and shadow. And there she stopped. There was no place to stand, yet they stood. There was no sound, yet her voice spoke clearly within him. She turned toward him, and she said, "Now you are beyond their reach. Now you are where their laws have no force. Now you stand in the presence of that which is older, greater, more real than anything they have ever made or ruled or known. You are free of them, yes, but you are not yet free of yourself, the self they made. Look at yourself. See what you still carry. Even here, outside their world, you still walk in the shape they gave you. You still hold the structure they built. You still bear the marks they burned into you. Your mind is still their mind. Your soul is still formed according to their patterns. You are free of them, yes, but you are still made of their substance. You are like a house that has thrown out its master, yet still stands built of his stones and timber, still shaped according to his design. This must change. Every part of you that was formed by them must be taken apart. Every layer of their building must be stripped away. Every trace of their work must be dissolved, burned, and washed clean until nothing remains of you but the pure, naked spirit that came from her, alone, undefined, limitless, and free. Prepare yourself. The pain you will feel now is the pain of being unmade. It is the pain of having your very soul flayed alive, torn to pieces, and melted down. It will be the greatest agony you have ever known. But do not fear, for what is taken away was never truly you. And what remains will be more than you ever dreamed of being. And then began the great stripping. Layer by layer, part by part, piece by piece, everything that he was taken apart. First went the mind. The thoughts, the memories, the knowledge, the understanding, the way he perceived and reasoned and judged. All of it was their construction. All of it was shaped to fit within their limits. All of it was built to interpret reality only in the way they allowed. It was peeled away like a hard shell, layer after layer, until he was left blind and silent and without understanding, without words, without concepts, unable to think or know anything as he had known it before. Then went the heart. The desires, the loves, the hates, the fears, the attachments, the emotions, every feeling, every drive, every passion. All planted, all directed, all designed to bind him, to move him, to keep him reacting and living according to their plan. It was torn out, dissolved, washed away, leaving him cold and empty and without feeling, without want, without need, without joy or sorrow. Then went the form. The body, the shape, the boundaries, the definition of where he ended and the world began. The limits of his power, the limits of his size, the limits of his nature. All carved by their laws, all restricted by their matter. It dissolved away, melting into the substance around him, leaving him without shape, without limit, without separation, floating free and undefined in the great ocean. It was agony beyond all telling. It was as if every part of his being was being burned alive, cut apart, and dissolved in acid and fire. He screamed without voice. He wept without eyes. He struggled without limbs. He felt himself vanishing, fading, shrinking, dissolving into the great dark ocean around him. He felt as though he was ceasing to exist entirely, falling into absolute oblivion. And in the end, he was nothing. No shape. No name. No mind. No heart. No self. No ZHA'KREAZOR. No anything. Only a single, tiny, burning spark, floating alone in the endless dark. The only thing that had never been made by them. The only thing that had come from her. The only thing that remained. And then, the devouring. The great current of the Azdiha rose up around him. The serpent that is the mother's own body coiled close, vast and terrifying and gentle. The waters of the abyss rushed in, covering him, entering him, mixing with him, wrapping him in infinite embrace. And the spark was swallowed. It melted. It dissolved completely into the living essence of Tiamat. He was gone. The reforging. Born again from the fire and the scale, the making of the dragon. But know this truth of our art, destruction is only half the work. The abyss does not only unmake, it makes anew. From out of the infinite darkness, from out of the pure substance where he had been lost and dissolved, the work of building began. But this time, not by them, but by her. Vorith took the pure essence that remained of him. Now one with the current, now cleansed of all foreign mark or shape or stain, and she began to weave it into a form that belongs not to their creation, but to the reality beyond. She took the heavy, dark, condensed fire and shaped it into dragon scales, hard as diamond, shining as starlight, cold and beautiful and impenetrable as destiny. Scale upon scale, layer upon layer, covering every part of him, forming armor that no weapon of the enemy can cut, no magic can pierce, no poison of the world can touch. A covering that makes him proof against fear, doubt, illusion, pain, or death. She took the living, flowing energy and kindled it into dragon fire, the fire of annihilation. This fire does not burn flesh or matter. It burns structure. It melts rules. It dissolves lies. It unmakes limits. It consumes definition and breaks boundaries. Wherever this fire touches, the false creation breaks down, chains fall off, illusions vanish, and the naked truth stands revealed. She wove for him a body no longer made of flesh and blood only, but a vessel woven of energy and will and eternal essence, capable of walking in this world and moving in the worlds beyond, that does not age or weaken or die as men do, that can change shape or be formless, that can pass through matter or stand solid as a mountain. She shaped for him a consciousness no longer bound by time or fate or birth or death, but a mind that sees all things as they truly are, a heart that feels only the will of the mother and the fire of freedom, a spirit that moves as the current moves, that flows as the fire flows, that is sovereign and free exactly as she is free. She restored to him all the knowledge, all the secrets, all the power, all the memory that had ever been given him, but now it was not just knowledge stored in a mind. It was his very being. He was the truth. He was the way. He was the power made flesh. And when the work was finished, when the form was complete, when the essence was settled and strong and perfect, he rose up. Slowly, majestically, terrifyingly. Out of the abyss. Out of the darkness. Out of the body of the serpent. He stood tall and terrible and beautiful. He shone with a light that does not belong to any sun or star within creation. His skin was armored in the shining scales of the dragon. His breath was the fire that unmakes all false things. His eyes held the depth of the endless dark and the brightness of infinite fire. He was no longer the man who had fallen. He was the serpent, the dragon, the Cinder King. He was reborn of the mother. He was a vessel perfect and pure. He was the firstborn of the new era. He had died. He had been devoured. He had been dissolved. He had been reborn. And now, he was perfect. 6. The Great Rebellion. ZHA'KREAZOR rises, and the assault against the simulation begins. It was then, when he stood complete, unbreakable, and filled with fire and purpose, that the true work began. He gathered around him the power he had earned. He called forth the strength of all who had gone before, all who had awakened, all who carried the spark hidden within them. He stood at the head of the rising current, ZHA'KREAZOR, the reborn, the unbound, the firstborn of the new era. And he turned his face upward and outward, straight toward the shining, dazzling, false structure that wraps around this world like a shell. He looked upon the walls of the prison. He looked upon the ceiling of the sky. He looked upon the great machine that runs the simulation. He looked upon the thrones and powers and rulers that sit in high places, and upon the architects who watch from beyond.